Greetings fellow Whovians and welcome to Timey Wimey Review. With the release of classic Doctor Who Season 24 on Blu-ray this week, I've decided to review the series opener Time and the Rani, originally broadcast on BBC One in September of 1987 and marks the debuting story of Sylvester McCoy as the 7th Doctor. Season 24 of classic Doctor Who has a bit of a hit and miss reputation for Whovians, with this story in particular ranking quite low to the eyes of many. But is it as bad as what everyone makes it out to be? Well, please hit the subscribe button and join me in this review. Just in case you don't know the plot, the TARDIS comes under attack by the villainous Time Lady, the Rani. The TARDIS crash lands on a planet Lacertia, with the impact forcing the Doctor to regenerate. This newly regenerated Doctor, who is suffering from amnesia, has been tricked by the Rani to assist her in her monstrous schemes. Meanwhile, companion Mel has to overcome many perils on the planet Lacertia to save her friend. What you see throughout this four-part adventure is ironically not enough time being spent on this production. It does feel quite rushed in areas, and a lot of people in front and behind the screen just finding their way, most notably Sylvester McCoy as the 7th Doctor. It's definitely not the definitive article that you see in future seasons of his performances. Here it's a lot more comedic. It's a bit like the 2nd Doctor, but just really turned up a huge notch in terms of the comedy. You see more pratfalls, playing the spoons, getting his words muddled up, which I did quite like in this. I thought the mixed metaphors were quite funny. But yeah, in terms of introducing a new Doctor to the audience, it definitely doesn't hit the ground running. It's a bit all over the place. And yeah, Sylvester McCoy does a way better job in future episodes like The Greatest Show in the Galaxy, Curse of Fenric, etc. But here, definitely finding his way, not at his best, but not really his fault either. I think he was very much mismanaged and led to do more the comedic roles or the comedic sort of moments from the director. I think John Nathan Turner has kind of admitted do more comedy because of all the flack that he was getting for the violence in Doctor Who, and yeah, it just doesn't quite work here. The mismanagement of characters kind of goes down the line as well. I mean, poor Bonnie Langford as Mel, especially in this story. The amount of screams that you hear throughout this four-part adventure, it definitely goes over the top for me. Way too many. And again, it's not her fault. She's probably one of the most nicest people if you've ever meet her. I know she's not the most popular of companions, character-wise, but her as an individual is very talented, extremely nice. If you saw in the UK The Masked Dancer a few weeks ago, you saw that she did a top performance in terms of her dancing, and she still got it, you know, considering her age. Yeah, she's brilliant, but here it just doesn't work. Yeah, the screams, I can understand when she's screaming in danger, and that was quite a good sort of cliffhanger that I'll get to a little bit later in this review, but she screams at everything, and screaming at all the aliens. To me, it's kind of a borderline a little bit racist, really. You shouldn't really be screaming at aliens when, you know, yes, I know they're supposed to be like the monsters, like the Tetraps she's screaming at, but it's not their fault what they look like. And yeah, it just goes a bit too over the top for me in this one. Speaking of the Tetraps, I really like the costume design for these monsters here, these bat-like creatures, and yeah, I thought there was a really good effects with them and making the mouths move. So it just shows that they've put a bit more sort of emphasis in productions and production design, and I like that. I don't know if anyone else kind of interpreted this. Let me know in the comments. But they have like 4 eyes, I think, sort of like one at the front and 2 at the sides, 1 at the back. But I like that they kind of have to. They're not all like seeing it all the time. They kind of have to focus their vision into one particular area that they're looking at. So, like if they're looking at the front, they always have to concentrate on there, or looking at the side. I quite like that sort of, well, that's how I interpreted it as anyway. But the only downfall for the Tetraps is their voice. It kind of reminds me of the voice of the L3 robot from the Trial of the Time Lord, but a bit more lighter in tone. This yes, Mistress Rani. It just doesn't quite fit with the monster that you see on screen. I think it would have been better to have a different voice for the Tetraps. We also have the return of Keita Mara as the villainous Rani, and Keita Mara did a really good job in this story. To me, she was the highlights of Time in the Rani. She just played on the Rani really, really good. She got the level right for me in terms of the over the top performance and when to keep the character more grounded. And it was nice for her to return because at that point she was a big Hollywood star. She was in Dynasty, a very highly popular show in the 80s. So for her to personally write to John Nathan Turner and say, I want to come back and be the Rani again, and jumping at the chance of doing that, I thought it was really good of her to do. But yeah, I loved her performance here. I do like her impersonations of Mel when when she's tricking the doctor into helping her with her experiments with the doctor suffering from amnesia or forced amnesia from the Rani. And yeah, it's a bit far-fetched story-wise, but it was good to see her do that performance. Another highlight for Time and the Rani is the special effects. Again, the production value just gone up a bit of a notch. The BBC throwing the last sort of dice into Doctor Who and seeing CGI effects, proper CGI effects, or at least 80s CGI effects. And I like that little mini intro of the TARDIS being under attack and crash landing onto Lancashire. And you see the video morph of the Doctor regenerating. And yes, it is Sylvester McCoy in a wig. It is what it is, folks. But then goes into the intro, and I really do like the intro. To be fair, it's very memorable. I like the music for it as well. I thought the theme arrangement was good. It's not my favorite, but it's definitely up there. And yeah, it just shows that there is some effort going on in there in terms of the special effects, like the trap. I like the ending to part one when Mel was caught in the Rani's exploding bubble trap, and you just see her just sort of whizzing off into the air and sort of smashing into a mountain and then splashing into the water. For new effects for BBC, I thought they handled it really well. And just a little subtleties of at least putting like a pink sky in the background to make it more of an alien planet and less of a quarry pit. Little touches like that, thumbs up for me. As well, we have Kevin McCulloch doing the incidental scoring and the theming of the new Doctor Who tune. New Doctor theme, yep, again, thumbs up. But the music, going back to that sort of theme of everyone finding their way, it's definitely not the best here. It's better than what I can do, let's be honest. I'm just not a composer at all. But yeah, some of it was good. Some of the music scoring was good, but some of it was not as good, and just like I think it was a bit too over the top with the electronics and the like sort of like the return, just the occurring keyboard hitting that dom boom 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 and da, 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 da. It just it doesn't quite do it for me. We do see better throughout the sort of subsequent seasons. Probably my best out of the lot was the score arrangement for Remembrance of the Daleks, but Time and the Rani, it's a bit all over the place. I'm going to give Time and the Rani a TARDIS rating of 6.5 out of 10. It's definitely not going to be the best, but it's certainly not as bad as what everyone makes it out to be. Now, yeah, it's not a great introduction to a new Doctor. But to be fair, we've had not that many great introductions to a new Doctor in the classic series. Probably not since really, I would say, Robot. or I do like Castrovalva, but it's not the most memorable in terms of introducing a new Doctor. I would say probably the top might be Spearhead from Space, the introduction to the third Doctor. But here it just shows that it's a new production team, it's a new Doctor, and they're all just trying to find their way, and it just shows in the deliverance of this four-part adventure. Still worth a watch. Like I said, there are some good highlights here in terms of the costumes, special effects, the Rani herself. But yeah, I can. It's definitely not the best way to introduce the Seventh Doctor era. It could have been better, but at least they got something made and they got something done, especially with the time that they had and all the politics that were going on backstage during the BBC in the 80s. You know, this was the last throw of the dice. There is a really good DVD documentary on the extras for Time of the Rani called The Last Chance Saloon. It is on YouTube somewhere as well if you wanted to quickly type it and find it, because it just shows, it just gives you a full perspective of what was going on whilst producing this four-part adventure. Let me know in the comments below your thoughts on Time and the Rani. Is it as bad as what everyone makes it out to be, or do you quite enjoy this introductory story to a new Doctor? And also, is it one of your favourites from season 24, with that being out now on Blu-ray? Next time on Timey Wimey Review, I'm going to go way back with the first Doctor story, The Ark. Until then, thank you very much for watching. Please don't forget to like the video, share the video, and subscribe to the channel. And as the good Doctor once said, time and tide melts the snowman.